Welcome to Touch on Air, a new podcast all about touch tennis. I know there's not much going on in the world of touch tennis in terms of live events right now, but times are isolated, things are weird. We thought it'd be a good time to kind of get this in your ears and you can listen and have some mental relief about your favorite sport, hopefully. Alongside me is Matt Gollidge. For those of you that have played touch tennis, you'll know him as Gollo. We're going to roll with that. Gollo, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So just tell me, how did you get into touch tennis for the first time ever?
Okay.
I mean, I was kind of 2016, but you were way back.
Yeah. So we're talking, I think it was 2009, maybe 2010. Wow. I played my first event at Sutton Tennis Academy. And it's quite interesting actually. I wasn't due to play it. I didn't know anything about it. Me and the boys used to just mess about and play some sponge ball on our evenings. Just for a bit of fitness, because we used to play with back then it was like the old zig balls that you can literally bash as hard as you can and they go nowhere.
They go nowhere.
We used to have like 500 shot rallies and it was just a bit of a laugh. And one day I was down at the academy and there was this event on and I was like, what's going on? This looks like my thing. And I spoke to one of the other boys that had entered and he was like, oh, I'm sure if you go and speak to this guy, and he pointed over to Rashid, maybe he'll get you in. So I went over, had a little chat, and he was like, yeah, 100% you're in, there's a space. Ended up winning my first round and I ended up having to play Rash.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but he was not happy.
Right.
Because I somehow managed to beat the greatest of all time.
In your first event?
In my first event. And yeah, he melted a couple of bats. A few profanities were shared, and I almost didn't get let back into another event.
Final one, first and final.
So yeah, that's where it all originated for me a long time ago. And then sort of 2012, 2013 season, I managed to get to number one. And I've been in sort of the top 10 ever since then. Doubles number one or number two or top five for quite a long time as well.
Wow, impressive stuff. I can't relate to that.
What about you then? I think I remember your first event, but do you want to share your intro?
Well, my first event I was a spectator at just by chance. My head coach of my tennis club at the time, Ash Neves, had entered Southampton 200 that was run by Sophie Pink, and just said, "Oh, any of you boys want to come watch playing this thing called touch tennis? It looks pretty cool. I've been watching some videos." So I came along and watched, and I mean, as most people know, if you've played a touch tennis event, I don't know what it is about. It's just so addictive. So even though I was a spectator, straight away I was just like, I want to play. I was in jeans and shoes,
just itching to get on the court.
Yeah, I was like, I want to. I'm so gutted I didn't enter in this event. And there was kind of like a murmur that this guy called Rob Burrows wasn't going to rock up. And Ash was like, you should go ask, you could take his place. I was like, I'm in jeans, but I don't care. I want to play this.
You want to play,
And Sophie, I remember Sophie was like, yeah, he's not, it doesn't look like he's going to turn up, not a problem. I was literally about to go tell Ash, I'm in, can't wait. And Rob Burrows walked through the door. And I was just like, oh God, okay. All right. So I ended up just watching. And yeah, I don't know what it was about it. You just come away from it. You have this buzz, you have this vibe. So literally entered the next event that was happening, which was a Mayfield 1000. And never did I think I could be in an event all day and just have so much fun. I mean,
you just don't stop, do you? You just don't stop.
Literally don't stop. The amount of Mondays that I've had where I've woken up and I've gone, I don't actually think I ate anything yesterday. I just played all day. And it's just unbelievable. I mean, and the one thing that really grabs me on that first event is just the camaraderie and how people just kind of club together. It's the
family, isn't it? It's the touch tennis family.
make the event what it was. I mean, like, it rained for a bit and we had a carpet court, and because the carpet court had been cleaned, it was like soap bubbles were coming up, but like everyone lumped in and was like giving it a scrub and making it, I mean, yeah, unbelievable. And then obviously that was the first event. Actually, no, it wasn't the first event I met the GOAT. He played the David Lloyd one. I remember Ash coming over and was like, this guy's coming, and apparently like he's the greatest of all time. And literally like straight away I was just like, this guy sounds deluded, like absolutely deluded. And then you meet him and you see his personality and you see him play and you're like, I want to be him. Like, it's so cool. And you know,
he's got the Grand Slams to back him up as well.
Exactly. You know, you can't argue with the guy. And then we played the event in Mayfield, and he played it too. And I can't remember who he was playing, but just a great introduction to the GOAT is he hit a smash off the top of the frame, bounced over, came back over, and then the next point he like came in to try and do it again, and the guy just absolutely tagged him in the special area, let's say. And oh yeah, it was just such a good day, and never looked back since playing that. It's just so addictive.
I definitely think that nowadays the family aspect of it is such an integral part. At the start, I wouldn't say it wasn't welcoming. It's always been welcoming to me.
Yeah.
But through the growth of the sport, literally anyone can play it. Yeah, anyone can jump in and play. And I think that's what is so good about the tour, is that it's not just your complete elite top level tennis players. Yeah, you don't have to be up here to be a touch tennis player. Yeah, it's a complete leveler. Yeah, it's a complete leveler. So those people that maybe aren't so comfortable on the tennis court, competing with some high level people, they can compete for sure with the top touch tennis players.
I've had I mean, I gagged them, but I had set points against people like Mold, and I'd never dreamed of having set points against somebody like Mold on a tennis court.
Yeah.
Right. Same with like, you know, I've got two games in a set per set against like Mac and Eves. I know if I play him at tennis, I played him at tennis once, and he got a hot dog winner against me and beat me love and love. So like, you know, like you said, it's just a complete leveler, and it just makes it so much more fun than the traditional games we know. Right, should we get him on?
Yeah, we can get the GOAT on for sure.
Should. Oh, I feel privileged.
Let's
slightly nervous.
Well, let's welcome Rashid in now then.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us on Touch on Air. I was slightly intrigued to whether you're going to come on with a Bane mask there.
I was tempted, but I'm waiting for my Batman mask to arrive.
No, you got a Batman mask as well on the way.
Well, how do you know I'm not Batman?
To be fair, I've never seen you both in the same room.
Exactly.
So yeah, very true. How have you been over lockdown? Like, how's lockdown been treating yourself personally? Touch tennis?
Well, I mean, the touch tennis family, we seem to communicate still, because I do a live most nights on the touch tennis Instagram page, once in a while on Facebook for those people that still use that platform. It's about 12 of us. So in some way we still seem to have remained connected, but it's just a shame that there's no tournaments. It kills me a little bit inside not having events.
Yeah, I mean, this must be the first time since touch tennis began that there's no tournaments for such a long period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really tough. I mean, I think the longest we've ever gone without a tournament has probably been the best part of a couple of months for the last. We're talking here over the last 10 years. The longest will be 2 months. I think in 2009 we had 3-month gaps between tournaments because they were all at my house, and it took 3 months of cleaning up after people like Gollage had been there.
Well, while you take us back to 2009, just let our listeners know, like, where did touch tennis begin? Like, where was the moment for you that, were you playing it but you didn't know it was touch tennis at the time, or did you just suddenly have an idea that, oh my God, there's this game that people could play and have leaps and bounds of fun with?
Okay. Here's the thing. So we're in my garden, and first of all, it's my daughter and I, and I'm just feeding a ball to her to hit. And I keep getting belted in the face or in the body by a tennis ball, and she's using a cut down wooden racket. Now, those of you that have ever played with a wooden racket, you know those strings are like spaghetti, and that ball comes at you at pace. I don't care if it's a 2-year-old. If it's this far away and you're 3 foot from somebody and they hit the ball straight up, the chances are it's going to hit you somewhere that hurts or somewhere that changes the way you look forever. And I got sick of sucking my dinner through a straw because, she kept on knocking out my front 2 teeth. And so I thought, okay, right, let's try and find a gentler way. So I got a knife and took all the pressure out of the ball. But the problem with that then was that it didn't bounce for her. So you can only really play volleys. And the problem with volleys, a 2-year-old can't really, react quickly enough. 2.5, 3-year-old, as she was getting older, just about to start her first slam appearance. And I found these foam balls. They were called Slazenger indoor Shortex balls. Now, bear in mind, they weren't the ones that we ended up using. They were called Shortex. So they had a sheen on them. And they were much better. And they were a bit like stress balls. And I got one of them from Wimbledon. You must have seen them there. You're there often enough. Yeah. And that was a lot better. But then when I left them outside in the garden and they got wet, they'd nerf because half was wet and half wasn't. And they were still bullets. So when she spanked one, it hurt. It hurt her insofar as I gave her a right cross. But then, after child services came by, I came across these foam balls that were all foam. And they had that sort of spongy feel, like you would bath yourself in the shower with them. And playing this game just became so much easier. And then we got the garden decked, because up until that point, I was playing on the grass and she was on the concrete. So it was one of those gardens, where you got concrete by the house and then a little bit of lawn. And then we got the whole garden decked. So the table on its side now became an epic piece of furniture. When my friends came over, we put the ball on the table, you tapped it off with your hand or the racket, or you could pull it towards you, and you were only allowed to hit up. That was the rule. No hitting down. And it was just one of those games. I'd seen somebody playing it on a tennis court at Bollettieri Academy, where I went to the adult camps. And I just thought, this is just the most fun I've ever played. So often when I went to the tennis club to play tennis with my mates, we'd end up playing this jackass game where you were just rolling the ball off the net and doing stuff like that as the warm up. And then at the end as the warm down. And it just became more and more something I wanted to explore. And by this stage, 4 slams against my daughter that I'd won. I thought, well, there's no limit to how many of these I can win. I could probably win 20. And, you had people like Sampras on 14, at his bunny sport, but I knew I could surpass that at this man's game. And so I started inviting people over, mostly when they were drunk. So I'd invite people over New Year's Eve, just get them tanked up and destroy them in the garden. And the Masters Cup in 2002-3, that night, I beat Pascal Houser, who then sponsored a tournament that you guys played in 2017. If you
I remember it. Yeah.
And I literally took him to Spanktown. It was a beautiful thing. And the rule was whoever lost had to run back to their house naked, or I had to run to his house and back naked if I lost. And there are rumors that some of the calls I made were questionable. And that where he couldn't see the shadows, I caught a ball, dropped it to my right, and then played the shot. Rumors, unsubstantiated. So far, no proof.
There's no proof.
Come out. Yeah,
cameras weren't even around then.
Yeah, and also, cameras never seem to be pointing the way I don't want them to point. They always seem to be pointing where I want them to. It's a weird thing. I don't know how that's happened. And so, that was my first Masters, one of my first 5 season-ending championships. And I just got bored of dominating my kids. And after I'd won 20 majors, I opened it up to people over the age of 5. Slightly more age appropriate it became. And sadly, scum like Gollage came along. And I met Matt at a tournament in 2009. October 2009, this kid comes up to me. He's like 18 years old. He's doing his A-levels and playing.
I was only 16.
Huh?
I was only 16.
You were 18, 100%. 2009. Don't be silly. Never lost to anyone. That'd be silly. It's just one of those things, you know. I thought, this is easy, no problem at all. I got this. He comes up to me anyway and says, can I play in the tournament? Nick said to speak to you. I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna have to play me and you're gonna get cuffed. He goes, yeah, that's fine. I was like, mate, you're gonna get absolutely spanked. I'm the GOAT. And he's like, allow, and just walked off. And
sounds just like me when I was 16.
18. And I had these brand new all Wilson bats, the Federer edition ones, when I turned up to the tournament. When I left the tournament, I didn't have any of them. The dustbin had all 4 of them because they were in shards of shattered aluminium. This filthy, dirty, talentless bunny, he just hacked every ball back. Because back then, and the thing is, a lot of you know Golligers, you know, the guy with the most elegant, ripped kick serve, the most beautiful hands at the net, and he's got power on both wings that can subdue, you know, a JCB coming at him. I mean, he hits that ball so big on both wings. But back then, it was his first match, and he'd only ever played with those scummy light foam balls, that are like 9 grams. And so all they used to do was just slap those. So because he couldn't slap this ball and keep it in, he just blocked every ball, left and right, just blocked until I made a mistake. And I just shattered those frames. And we decided to change the rules after that to no more racket breaking. If you break a racket, you're out of the tournament. But obviously it wasn't a bad enough experience for Gollage. He came back and kept coming back. He came to my house and I lost him in 3 sets. That's one of the only times. I mean, I served for the match in the 3rd set. I was 5-4 up. I'll never forget that. And yeah,
just couldn't close it out. Couldn't close it out, hey?
Yeah, but I've never gagged a match from match point up. That's one thing I'm proud of. Never gagged a match from match point up. I mean, never like, Ben Mason, giving an overhead at match point.
I knew that was going to come up at some point. Before we were recording this, I was just looking through all my results and just past the fence, kind of just reminiscing. And just that match is just so painful because 5-4, 4-5, 4-5, or 3 sudden death points to decide every set. I mean, brutal, but it's just one thing that's great about the touch tennis scoring, that even though I lost that match, the first thing I wanted to do as soon as I came off the court is just play again.
Yeah,
because you're just 1 point away from potentially, I could have a shift in 2 points. I could have lost 2 sets to love. A shift in a point, I could have won. And it was absolutely brutal. But the first thing I wanted to do as soon as I came off the court was just get straight back on there and play another match. I knew that was going to get brought up.
It was always coming.
Yeah, always.
So we touched on the intro of the sport and how you came about it. The growth of the sport. I mean, when we talk about the match that you and I played back in the day, we were still having like your regular tennis scoring. We had 2 serves. There was no lets. Talk us through how we've sort of adapted the sport, and then also the growth in terms of how many countries are now involved and where it is.
Well, actually, people like you and Jake's were one of the main reasons we changed one of the rules, which was the 2 serves.
I hated you.
Yeah, at the time you absolutely
I hated you.
And now you get it.
Yeah, 100%. It didn't just get rid of my weapon, it got rid of everyone's weapon.
And you just said to me, the first thing was allow, because you were 18. You just learned that word. And I said, look, we've got Chris Eaton, Marcus Willis, we've got guys like this who are serving off a mountain. And if you allow them 2 serves, they will never, ever hold back on their first serve.
Yeah. Or second serve.
Or second serve.
We were hitting 2 first serves.
Yeah. And I said, look, that's it. We're just going to abolish it, because I thought to myself, there is no other racket sport that has 2 serves apart from tennis. Squash, badminton, table tennis, racquetball, all of these sports are 1 serve. You don't get 2. The difference being table tennis and badminton, you get lets, which you don't get obviously in other sports. But I thought that, lets don't really affect a match enough in touch tennis. Because at the time, bear in mind that the net at my house was a permanent net. So if you hit the net with a serve, it flew up and gave the receiver time rather than the server. Very occasionally you get a serve that clipped and changed direction, a bit like the nets you now see at Weybridge. And didn't realize that we'd then end up playing on Slazenger and Wilson nets where you can serve an absolute cannon. The guy's standing back 8 feet for it, hits the net and just trickles down dead. And that happens at break point or at match point. I've seen people's souls obliterated by those, and I love it. That's the thing I love about the sport. You know, it's something that brings all of us back, you know, or someone gagging an overhead at match point, you know, that sort of thing.
Twice.
Just keeps bringing me back to the game, keeps bringing me back. And so, yes, the 2 serves went. We said, no lets, no problem at all. And we tried something, Gollage will remember this well. We tried the scoring format, 3 match tie breaks, so 1st to 10.
Yeah.
And nobody liked it. And I agreed with them very quickly after trialing. I had to trial it. It was at the October Masters in Epsom Rainbow Leisure Centre. Because if someone went 8-love up, that's it. You're not winning that set under any circumstances, right? But in touch tennis, in our game scoring, if someone wins 8 points, they're only 2-love up. And there's no guarantee that they're going to then win that set. You know,
mentally you're still way in it.
Yeah. I mean, if I won 8 straight points against Gollage today, you tell me who's the favorite in that set. He's still the favorite by a million miles. But 8 straight points in a breaker to 10, I'm going for haymakers on every single ball from that point onwards.
Yeah.
And the chances of me not closing it out are very slim. So we abolished that. We went back to the 1st to 6 games. Again, I felt like there was something missing. And so we tried shortening it like the pro set to 1st to 4 games. And then with just 1 serve, sudden death at deuce was the last introduction. The last change we made was sudden death at deuce. And that made it, in my opinion, perfect in 2010. That was it. There was no need to ever change it again, I felt.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I do agree with every single rule change once you've got used to it. But that initial shock of you saying, right, we're going to 1 serve, right, we're getting rid of deuce. It's just like another rule change, and that's something else that's not going to work in my favor. But
although the one that did work in your favor was the doubles rule we introduced.
Yeah, no, I can get on board with the doubles rule for sure.
What was that ruling? What was introduced?
Well, the volleyer has to be inside the service box at the start of every single point for both teams. So you don't have both teams standing at the back and just hacking.
Yeah, I remember that rule being introduced.
Because we used to have, in finals, we used to have 2-hour-long matches because nobody wanted to lose. Everyone just wanted to stay at the back and grind, and everyone was too tight to come into the net and put it away.
Yeah, that did kind of like change it. I remember as soon as that rule came in, you then had to make that snap decision of whether you are going to stay at the net or whether you're going to peg it back to the baseline but potentially get a ball to the feet, and it made it so much more interesting.
Absolutely. But also I think that from a tactical perspective, the great thing about it is that people are now learning how to volley. Because the younger generation, and when I say the younger generation, I'm talking about people probably about your age, Mason, and younger, aren't really taught to volley, and you're not taught how to transition to the net. You may learn how to volley, you're there at the net and they're teaching you, right, there's, a racket out and stuff like that. But nobody teaches you how to serve and volley. Nobody really teaches you how to transition well to the net off a bad ball. So, for example, you're just coming in on a bluff. But in my day, I remember kids being taught, including if I'd had the money for lessons, me being taught that. I saw those lessons going on where you'd see a ball, the guy had hit one of those looping balls, and you just half volley it into the corner like that, running behind it, directly behind the ball. And you never saw that happening in touch tennis by the tennis players. You saw non-tennis players doing stuff like that because they didn't know better. They didn't know that, you should go in up the line rather than cross court. And what happens now is you get people that know that if they don't come into the net, every return is going to be going cross-court. And it's an easy return. So you're playing a guy or a girl that's not particularly good, and you're serving deuce court. You've got one person's in, your partner, is by the net. Their partner is by the net. You serve and volley. Suddenly you cut their angles down by about 70%. If you serve and stay back, all they've got to do is loop it high and get it back into play. And so I find that we're getting a lot more people serving and volleying than they used to. I mean, I love it. Becky Turner, who'd never played tennis in her life up in the Midlands, serving and volleying occasionally. I just thought that's fantastic. A skill that she wouldn't have had she just been regularly playing singles and only ever played tennis. No coach would ever have said to her, serve and volley.
No.
I mean, she's 5'3", 5'4". What coach in their right mind would say, right, I want you to hit that kicker up the tee and then run in behind it and put an inside-out volley into play? Never going to happen,
Yeah, I completely agree.
So you were saying about Becky Turner and how she didn't play much tennis before she came to touch tennis. And one thing that I liked about the fact that yourself as the GOAT, and I don't want this to come across in a negative way because I don't mean this in any way, but when I was coming to my first tournament, I was coming with players like Ash Neves, Macca, who knew Ed Ellis, Haas, Golo from national tennis comps. And then all of a sudden, I think I'm going to be just going to a tour that's similar to tennis tours where I'm not going to have much fun. I'm going to get spanked, love, and I'm going to go home alone, and not have much of a great day. But all of a sudden, I go to this event. I've got obviously yourself, very charismatic, but this guy that actually is incredible at touch tennis, but wasn't a national tennis player. Is that correct if I say that? You weren't a national tennis player?
No. In Pakistan, I was ranked number 1. I mean, no one's found the record. But and also in Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, I was number 1 in all of those countries at tennis.
Well, you learn something new every day.
I was also the number 1 darts player in Pakistan, number 1 snooker player for 5 years, actually. Won 20 slams at snooker in Pakistan.
Oh, wow. Anything he's not good at.
Yeah, maybe I should change my question. But what would you say that what would you put it down to, the fact that makes the game such a leveler and so addictive for players like myself?
Let me answer your last question. I mean, first of all, I thought you were going to end your question when you said, I thought I was going to turn up to tournaments and get spanked, love, and love. And that's exactly what happened.
No, that did happen.
I don't know why you carried on after that.
But I had a great time.
You did. I like playing some of the tennis players. There have been some tennis players that I don't particularly like, and they've tried to bring their failed tennis career to touch tennis to launch a career they never had. And yet you find the greats of the game, like Fernando Gonzalez, who turn up in the right spirit. They turn up just to have a laugh.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted. We wanted to foster that. And I've tried with those who've turned up with the wrong attitude to slowly get them to accept that, no, this isn't tennis. This is just a laugh, first and foremost. And you see many of them change the way they think and approach touch tennis after that. And that was what we always tried to foster over competition and money and things like that. And that was never more evident than Belgium in 2013, 14, 15, 16, when Golic and Hassan could easily have made 200-300 euros for winning the tournament. They were at the Stella factory in Leuven until 7 o'clock in the morning instead. Now, they then sat there courtside, having been absolutely demolished and hosed in the first round.
I didn't get hosed. Haas got hosed.
Yeah, just drinking all afternoon, just getting a bit of a tan. As simple as that. I mean, that was for me was the tour there and then. That was exactly what it was meant to be. And I never wanted it to be something that could not appeal to a person like me who, in fairness, if I played tennis against Matt Golic, no matter what you put on the line for me, apart from, I don't know, maybe the well-being of my family, the odds are I couldn't get a point.